It's caught in the crossfire. It's caught in the.
What's up, guys? Lance the Obscure Movie Guy coming to you again with another fun-filled, fact-filled video that you probably don't care about, trying to change the world one post at a time. Now, a couple weeks back, I went over some Nicolas Cage movies that everybody should have been watching, and just want to say that I had gone to the theaters and seen The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, starring Nicolas Cage, along with Pedro Pascal and Lily Milo Sheen and Neil Patrick Harris and a bunch of other people, and it was actually a freaking hilarious movie. And it got me thinking about other movies where actors have played parodies of themselves. Now, I kind of touched on this almost a year ago, one of my very early videos, where I kind of touched on some movies where actors that were once serious actors didn't mind poking fun at themselves. And in that video, I had gone over Killing Hasselhoff, starring David Hasselhoff. I went over the Amazon Prime show, Jean-Claude Van Johnson, which is Van Damme playing a parody of himself as a secret agent, and that was also amazing. And I also went over a movie called Killing Gunther, which was starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Didn't play a parody of himself in that film, but did play heavily on his one-liners from his action movies of yesteryears. So that's also a fun video, so if you can, go back and find that, check it out. But The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, starring Nicolas Cage, playing Nicolas Cage, got me thinking about other movies in which actors parodied themselves, as I said. So I wanted to take a look at 3 films that we should be watching that were of movies where an actor played themselves in a what may have been or may not have been a parody of themselves. And the first one I want to talk about came out in 2020, actually, and it was actually a really funny movie. It is called The Very Excellent Mr. Dundee. The Very Excellent Mr. Dundee is a 2020 Australian comedy film directed by Dean Murphy, written by Dean Murphy and Robert Mond. It stars Paul Hogan, Chevy Chase, John Cleese, Olivia Newton-John, and Carrie Armstrong. Paul Hogan is reluctantly thrust back into the spotlight as he desperately attempts to restore his sullied reputation. Complicating matters is that he is scheduled to be knighted by Queen Elizabeth II, whose favorite film in the movie happens to be Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. After a series of escalating mishaps that involve fellow celebrities Olivia Newton-John, Chevy Chase, John Cleese, Paul hits an all-time low. However, he manages to restore his good standing with the press by stopping a car thief. Paul receives the knighthood, and the character of Crocodile Dundee is revived as both a musical and a cartoon. He's booked to appear on The Tonight Show, but chooses to attend his granddaughter's school play instead, and Paul Hogan happily leaves Hollywood behind to live in Australia. So that's a really fun movie. It's really good to see Paul Hogan still trying to do stuff. The man is in his 80s at this point. I think he was actually 80 years old when that movie came out in 2020. But there's also a lot of cameos from a lot of other actors. You know, aside from, you know, John Cleese and Chevy Chase, Olivia Newton-John, you know, Jim Jeffries has a cameo in it. Louis Mandylor's got a cameo. Wayne Knight's got a cameo in it. Reginald Van Johnson, Reginald Vel Johnson. You guys would know him as the cop from Family Matters and Die Hard and just about everything else that he's done where he's a cop. Also Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where he plays a parody of himself. There's a parody within a parody. But yeah, you guys would recognize him. But good time, really good time. It's not the best movie in the world. Most of the movies that I watch are not, but it's a really fun movie. It really is. His fall from grace and then climbing back up. And, you know, his fall from grace, it happens in a comedic fashion. It's just one bad mishap after another that was, you know, nothing that was supposed to be serious, but, you know, things that got blown out of proportion, as things usually are in Hollywood. So, But really a good time. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and I think everybody should check it out. If you were a fan of Crocodile Dundee as a kid, like I was, I love Dundee, and I love Dundee too. Those are both really good movies. It's a good time. Brings back a little bit of sense of nostalgia to see Paul Hogan again, and just to see how he's doing after all these years. So, in Australia, he's a legend, but you know, didn't make the same impression over here in the States, with the exceptions of Crocodile Dundee. So, good stuff. Good stuff. The next one I want to talk about is another relatively recent one. This came out in 2019, and I think this will hit home for a lot of people that are of my generation, growing up with Clerks, with Kevin Smith, Jay, and Silent Bob. And this movie is called Madness in the Method. Madness in the Method is a 2019 American comedy film directed and starring Jason Mewes. The film marks Mewes' directorial debut. Character actor Jason Mewes struggles to gain legitimacy as an actor, as he has been typecast for decades with Kevin Smith as Jay and Silent Bob. He decides to try method acting to reinvent himself, but only to find out that it has negative effects on his sanity. It's got an all-star cast starring Jason Mewes as himself, Kevin Smith as himself, Terry Hatcher as Gina, Vinnie Jones as Vinny, Gina Carano as Carrie, and Danny Trejo as himself, Stan Lee as himself, Harley Quinn Smith as herself, along with Brian O'Halloran as himself. It was released in May of 2019 and was sent straight to digital platform with a limited release in theaters. It runs 99 minutes, and it is hilarious. And again, we find ourselves with a movie of a parody of an actor, which I think we can find some truth to. This movie was actually it is a very funny movie, but I think there's a lot of truth into this movie as well, with Jason Mewes. As we know, he has often been typecast as a Jay-type character from Jay and Silent Bob fame. So I can definitely see that being a real note that they would hit on with the movie. And I can definitely see him trying to reinvent himself in some way to make himself a more legitimately known presence in Hollywood. And maybe this film in and of itself was part of that. He makes his directorial debut, so not only is he starring in it, but he's directing it. It was a really interesting movie. It was really funny, and you know, he's best friends with Vinnie Jones, and Gina Carano plays his girlfriend Carrie. And it's another one of those films, kind of like we talked about with the very excellent Mr. Dundee. It's one of those films where bad things tend to happen to Jay throughout the course of the film. That isn't necessarily his fault. But they just kind of keep happening, and things keep getting worse for him. But it is funny because the other actors that are in the movie also do tend to play some type of parody of themselves. Like Danny Trejo is hilarious in the film. Kind of plays a parody of himself. Kevin Smith is Kevin Smith. I don't know that there's a real parody there, but there's a really, really good scene between Kevin Smith and Jason talking about, and I could definitely see how this may have been a conversation that these guys may have actually had in real life. Maybe not to this intensity, but there's a really good scene between Kevin and Jason where they talk about Jason's career path and how Kevin had a handle in it, and them blaming each other, you know, Jason blaming Kevin, Kevin blaming Jason for Jason's own, you know, career path. It's a really good scene. It was really well done. Very intense, a lot of anger there. And again, I think there's a lot of truth to not just that scene, but the movie in and of itself. But another good movie that's really fun to watch. It was definitely a good time. And just Jason Mewes does deserve a little bit more credit than just being Jay from Jay and Silent Bob. So props to him on that. The last one I want to talk about is a 2007 film from none other than legendary B-movie actor Bruce Campbell. It is called My Name is Bruce. My Name is Bruce is a 2007 American comedy horror film directed, co-produced, and starring cult movie actor Bruce Campbell. The film was written by Mark Verheiden and had a small theatrical release in October of 2008. In the mining town of Gold Lick, Oregon, Jeff, played by Taylor Sharp, a young fan of B-movie actor Bruce Campbell, and his friend Clayton, played by Logan Martin, go to a cemetery to meet two girls, Big Debbie and Little Debbie. Jeff moves a medallion off of a mausoleum, unleashing the Chinese god of the dead, Guan Di, played by James Peck, who kills Clayton and the Debbies while Jeff flees. Meanwhile, Bruce Campbell is finishing the filming of fictional movie Cave Alien 2 and is promised a birthday surprise by his agent, Mills Todner, played by none other than Ted Raimi. Bruce meets Jeff, who kidnaps Campbell and takes him to Gold Lick in hopes that his hero can save the town from Guan Di. Upon his arrival, Bruce assumes that this is his birthday surprise from Mills and thinks it is all a movie despite the lack of cameras and a script. He agrees to quote-unquote help the town. He learns about Guan Di in the town's town hall and during his dinner party. Bruce gets on the good side of Jeff's mother, played by Grace Thorson, who is initially irritated by Bruce's behavior. Now, the beauty of this film is it is specifically for Bruce Campbell fans, nothing else. If you're a fan of Bruce Campbell and any of his work from the Evil Dead series, Ash vs. the Evil Dead, Burn Notice, Briscoe County Jr., stuff like that, this is specifically targeted for Bruce Campbell's fans. He's not trying to garner any additional fans. He's not doing this for any big budget box office type thing. He's not even doing it for the money. In fact, most of the props and even some of the filming location was done on his ranch in Oregon, and the props were his props from his other films. So Bruce Campbell put a lot of himself into the movie, a lot of his personal stuff into the movie, and it is a parody of himself. And I think the beauty of Bruce Campbell is he knows he's a B-movie actor. He enjoys being a B-movie actor. He was asked one time during an interview, I think from Letterman actually, why does he do so many B movies? And his response was, in Hollywood, it's the only types of movies you find any type of originality in anymore. And that's really, even by today's standards, that's very true. It was true then, it's true now. There's not a lot of originality in any of the big blockbuster movies anymore. And even if they are original, they're usually not done well and they're crap. Bruce enjoys doing B movies. He's probably the only B movie actor that's got an A-list type celebrity to him. So, I mean, I love Bruce Campbell. This movie was made for me. I'm a Bruce Campbell fan, and it's a good time. If you're a Bruce Campbell fan, sit down and watch it. If you're not a Bruce Campbell fan, don't watch it. You're not going to understand it. You're not going to get it. You know, and it's got Ted Raimi in it. Ted Raimi has done a lot of stuff with Bruce Campbell. Almost said Bruce Lee. That'd be funny. And Ted Raimi is the brother of Sam Raimi, who Sam Raimi is the director of, we know him from Spider-Man, but he was also the director and got things started with Bruce back in the 80s with Evil Dead. Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. So even though Sam and Bruce have a lot of tie-ins with each other, Sam didn't have a handle in anything going on with this movie, but part of the movie is, you know, obviously based on the career that Bruce has had with Sam Raimi and what revolves around the Evil Dead type stuff. So it's a good time. Like I said, specifically for the Bruce Campbell fans. If you're not a Bruce Campbell fan, you're not going to enjoy this movie as much as a Bruce Campbell fan would. So don't watch it and bash it. If you're not a fan, just don't watch it. So there you have it. That is my take on 3 movies of celebrities or movie stars or actors, however you want to call them, playing a parody of themselves, you know, based off of Nicolas Cage's most recent movie, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, where, you know, I thought that would be a good segue. Now would be a good time to look at some other actors that have done similar type stuff. So if you haven't seen any of these movies, please check them out. They are a good time. If you haven't seen the movie Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent starring Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal, definitely go see it. Again, it is a good time. And like, subscribe, and comment to the YouTube channel. Share the video. And again, check out that Nicolas Cage movie. It is fun. Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage. And then at the end, it's a movie within a movie. So he's Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage in a Nicolas Cage movie. I feel like I've heard something like that before.
I know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. What?